better put Rick, Shane, and Daryl on speed dial because it's another dystopian future zombie apocalyptic fiasco shindig. So get your blowtorch, get your spray paint, and get your same-sex nookie slave because it's time to check out Days of Doom on the Atari VCS. Hola, childs. It's time for Funkmaster V's Getting Hip with the Atari 7800, where Funkmaster V, musician, ghost hunter, hat flipper, pro wrestler, and comedian takes you on a tour of all things cool about the Atari 7800. Are you ready to get your groove on? Because it's about to get funky up in here. The original king of video games is back with Days of Doom. Check that out. Graphic-like graphics. Yeah, a turn-based post-apocalyptic strategy game from Atari and Sneakybox, those sneaky little guys who are associated with the Recharge games, which for the most part are absolutely tremendous games for the VCS. Days of Doom is available for download not only on the Atari VCS, but also Steam, Xbox systems, and PlayStation as well. So, what is it? It's a roguelike or a roguelite. I don't know what that means. I've been playing video games since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Still don't know what the hell that means, but this is a roguelite. So look that up on your Urban Dictionary of Nerds to figure out what that means. It's a cartoony game. It looks great for what it is. It looks like a high-end cell phone game. Sound is good. The voice acting in the beginning is tremendous. However, there's not a lot of dialogue between the characters as we roll. So what is this thing? We're trying to get to a place called Sanctuary. And let me tell you, that's not easy to get to. Very, very far away, and several maps you have to traverse to get to Sanctuary. And I believe when you get there, you beat the game. I haven't beat it yet, and I've played it all weekend. So like I was saying before in another take that I did on this video, this game is pretty easy. It's a nice pick up and play turn-based game, which is rare. Most turn-based games are pretty complex, even if they hold your hand. After a while, sometimes a lot of the gameplay aspects you can lose because it gets kind of overwhelming. Final Fantasy Tactics, I would say, is very complex. Then I would say something like Ogre Battle 64 would be like the next rung. Command and Conquer, XCOM, and then maybe even Mario Rabbids, whatever they called that. But this would be even easier than that. You see, you have a party, and no matter the class, a character can only do one of 5 things: move, attack, use an ability, use a consumable, or increase their defense. It may be simple, but I think one of the major pluses to this game are the characters themselves. The character classes are very original. Of course, you've got kind of magic users and ranged players and tanky types, but what they do and how they do it are pretty unique. Normally, when you're in a zombie apocalypse world, there's not a lot of magic using. Probably my favorite character in the game is a chick called Hydromancer, who is a magician that uses and manipulates water. She can do some pretty unique things later in the game, but she's pretty cool. One glaring, I would say it's almost a detriment to the game, is the fact that your characters don't really have any sort of backstory. You can't even customize how they look. You can't customize really their jobs at all. Not very much. You can kind of morph them a little bit with the magical runes that you find when you play the game, but they're pretty much what they are. And even though they're unique, like you have a guy that's like a punk fire starter, you have someone who uses a heavy metal guitar, kind of like a reverse bard in a way. He can kind of depress people with his crappy heavy metal playing or something. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but he thrashes his head around. That's cool. You kind of have this large Amazon woman who's probably the game's tank, but she has really good mobility. So there's some interesting things going on here with these character classes. Now you can't fall in love with them because you can't really customize them at all. And there's a reason. This game is a lot like Zombie U from the Wii U. What? Yes, it is. Because there's no way you can take this original starting group of people and beat the game. The game, even though it has some sort of cleric or a priestess type character, she does not heal you. She can protect you, and that's about it, but she can't heal. It's very tough in this game to heal yourself. And it's very difficult not to take damage at some point in this game. In fact, some of the boss battles are really kind of cheap, while most of the game is pretty easy to run through. So what does that mean? The game is designed for you to get involved in these fights and then go as far as you can and collect resources, and eventually you're going to get your ass kicked. Somebody's going to drop dead, you're going to make a mistake, a boss is going to be ultra cheap, and voila, your team is wiped out. You go back to the sanctuary with the resources and you try to unlock things like extra slots for your group, or more characters to pick from at the beginning, or the possibility to start with more runes. And so we go again, and you try to get a little deeper and try to get a little further and get more resources, and then eventually you'll die, and then you'll have to start over again. So it's easy in a sense that it's easy to kind of win a bunch of games in the beginning, win a bunch of matches, clear a bunch of maps, feel like a bunch of studs, and then eventually you're going to run up against it and you're going to watch all your friends die. So that's kind of the reason why there's not a lot of customization, is because who cares? These people are fodder, and you just keep sending these people out to basically die until one group eventually is going to be lucky enough and powerful enough to make it to the end of the game. Days of Doom also boasts that no game will ever be the same, and that's true. However, a lot of the fights and stuff kind of feel like it's the same. There's not a lot of variance. You're going to fight the same mobs over and over, and the same bosses are going to kind of be at the last spot. The game does try to vary things up with these choose-your-own-adventure type spots in the game where you have a choice to either help somebody out or investigate a bus that may have supplies, and anything may happen. It could be booby-trapped, you may hurt your people in the party, you may find great riches, you may find magical runes, you may fight raiders, you may fight zombies. The raider fights are much more difficult than the zombie fights, so beware, they are not the same beast. So if you are low powered or you're hurt, you may want to avoid raider fights until you get more overpowered. There's also shops. At the shops, you can buy things like magical runes to kind of customize and power up your characters. You can also buy new recruits if you have slots available. They are expensive. But I would suggest to everybody, this is much like Fatal Run for the Atari 7800, you must always buy gasoline. Gasoline, the first time I lost this game, I ran out of gas. So it was kind of like myself when I was like 18 years old. It happened to me a lot for some reason back then. E means enough. But anyway, if you run out of gas in this game, that's it. The game is over. All your people die, and you start back over at the settlement to start over. So when you're at the shop, make sure you always buy gas. And you have to navigate the map carefully. You don't want to backtrack a lot or you'll waste gas and you won't be able to finish the run that you should have finished. So as far as the game goes, it's pretty fun. I would say it's enjoyable. You can pour a lot of time into this, but eventually it does start to wear on you how long it takes to get the resources needed to level up your squad to the point where you can make a good run. If I had to rate this game like I do on my Atari 7800 Forever website, I'd give the graphics about a 4 out of 5. I'd give sound about a 3.5. Gameplay, I'd give that about a 3.5. Value, it's $30 right now. I don't know if the game is worth $30. You do get tons and tons and tons of play out of it if you do jive with the game. If you jive with the game, I'd say the value around this thing is about a 3.5. On the originality score, I'd say this is pretty derivative of a lot of games like this, and to me it kind of feels like a large cell phone game in a way. I'd give that about a 3. Reviewers tilt about a 3.5, and we're looking at a score of 3.5, which means this is a good game and probably worth it if you have an Atari VCS and you want a long, drawn-out adventure as opposed to the fun Twitch games that you probably already have. If you're not jiving with Starfield at the moment, you're waiting for your next AAA game, this was a good one to probably tie you over for a couple weeks, and I can't wait to see how it ends. Days of Doom by Atari on the Atari. I'd say check it out if you're a fan of turn-based strategy games, and especially if you're somebody new to the genre.